in terms of what your characters know about what your players and their characters know about NPCs, you can handle this in a mostly diegetic fashion, but sometimes you will have to kind of decide if it makes sense to give more than that. And what I mean, the classic example is the insight check in D&D 5e, right? Because
I was hoping you were going to bring this up because this is something that because
the insight check mechanic does exist diegetically in that the player character is, observing the NPC, right? So it does exist in the context of the characters. But, it kind of gives you this out of character level of information, the classic, he's lying situation, right? And now as the GM, if you want to try and push this, because the whole thing where it's like the GM tells you for sure this NPC is lying to you, that is definitely 100% non-diegetic because the GM is giving you 100% concrete information that your character could never actually have 100% concretely like that, barring magic, obviously. So,
okay, do you know who is great at this? Cardell.
Okay.
At providing information like this. I'm going to tell you exactly how. Well, I would play with Cardell in person, right? Like our games were held over the internet, but we'd play in person. Yeah, and I think he solved this perfectly. I'm sorry, I know this is a tangent.
No. Well, it might layer over with the next chunk of my note too, but keep going.
Go on. Yeah.
No.
You sure?
No. It might be better if you say this first. I'm thinking.
Well, so most people can't do this unless you're playing in person.
Okay.
But when characters would people tell us when characters would lie.
People do still play in person. I know that's hard to believe.
I know. He wouldn't tell us when characters would lie, but he was really good about giving NPCs
body
little
language.
tells.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good. There was, this is 6 years ago, but there was a character where he was such a smarmy little shit. And I remember he lied once and he did this thing where he cocked his chin to the side. I don't know how I can, it's the O thing, but he would bring his chin over every time he would say something. And I was I thought it was just a behavior. I thought it was a quirk of the character. But at one point I said something that spooked the character. Right? Okay. I was oh, I have this info. And he was I wouldn't know anything about that. And he turned his head to the side again. And I was wait.
Okay. Yeah, so he was slowly but surely
Pavloving the shit out of me.
yeah. Right. Yeah. She was training you on the information, which that's basically layers with what I was about to say. Because what I was the next bit I was saying is, as the GM, you can try to handle the insight check in a diegetic fashion by saying things like, he's sweating profusely. You notice he's tapping his hand nervously, right? Which is essentially what you're saying Cardell is doing. The problem is, of course, that all humans have very different body language, and those different elements of body language can change, especially when you're talking across cultures. So when it comes to using a mechanic that the book is saying gives the player direct information, you're almost always better off delivering that information non-diegetically and directly to the player so that it is clear and gives the player what they earned. But like you were just saying, there is a way you can kind of thread that needle if you want, but it's hard. And
it is. It's really difficult. And I think, to Chris's credit, and maybe a little bit discredit, I don't know that he was doing it specifically for me. Because I do this where I will give NPCs specific body language and I know that the player can't see them.
Right.
But
It just helps you stay in character.
It helps me stay in character.
Yes,
so it's possible that was just a tick he had for that character. And it, I could be talking out of my ass. This could be the most amazing fortuitous circumstance event. But assuming, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that it wasn't. It was like a tailored thing he was doing either for himself or for us.
Yeah.
And it was really effective.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter either if it was 100% planned or not because it worked, right? But yeah, something like the insight check is, it's an eternal debate, right? You can hear and go listen to any tabletop podcast or video or anything. It always comes up like, should insight be a lie detector? How much should you tell them, right? All that shit. You just got to decide as a GM and with the style of game you're playing, do you care enough to try and make it more complicated, or are you okay with just letting it deliver the information just as is? And me personally, if the characters have an ability or a mechanic or something like that gives them information and it says, this information has to be delivered in, this information has to be delivered in such a way that the player knows for sure, then I'm generally going to say, just do it. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you, how do you typically handle insight checks? Because you were sort of talking about how, should you or should you not? How do you personally handle it?
I think I mostly just let him be a lie detector. I mean, I'm not generally running the kind of game where it being something else is worth the time, really. You know what I mean? Like, if you're running the Apothecary's Diary RPG and
I play that,
characters lying and finagling with each other and trying to get a better position in the court or whatever, then the insight check being a lie detector is going to ruin some of the fun, right? Because the courtly back and forth is the combat, as it were, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm running that kind of game, then yes, I'm not going to so much allow insight check as lie detector because the game is more focused on that, so we're going to spend more time on that. If I'm running the monster, if I'm running the dungeon fucking monster slapping game, I don't really care if insight just tells you the goblin's lying, like,
right.
It's fine. You pass the check. And some games will tell you directly. So like Apocalypse World, for example, has a couple abilities where it's like, or a couple of moves where it says, the character knows this, the GM must tell you truthfully, right? Like the game explicitly says you have to tell them. And in that scenario, the game is like, do not try to do this as some sort of in-character shit. Deliver this as a non-diegetic bit of information that they have, end of discussion, right? So in those scenarios, I defer to what the game wants me to do. And for Apocalypse World, that particular idea of the characters have moves that are just like, GM, deliver me this information, that makes sense for that game because a lot of the time the tension in Apocalypse World is, I know this character is going to screw me over and now I have to figure out how to deal with it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like if you just don't know what anybody's doing and they're just milling about, then the tension's not as much there. But if you know, oh, Jim is trying to fuck me, I need to fuck me over. I need to make sure that I'm like out of his way because he's about to cause trouble. Like that is the tension of that game. So yeah, most of the time insight, like I don't know if you remember, but I think for the Beyond the Gods game, I mostly just let insight be a lie detector for the most part.
Like recognizing a pattern and knowing your intent, though, I just kind of wanted to.
Yeah. For the most part, I'm not too worried.